For Coach Bud Grant and the Minnesota Vikings, the season opened on September 16th in Metropolitan Stadium. And following an undefeated preseason, the Vikings were ready for the always powerful Oakland Raiders. John Gilliam gave the Vikings an early 10-point lead. But Fran Tarkenton found himself trailing 16-10 late in the third quarter. Tight end Stu Voigt rolled the Vikings into scoring position. And one play later, Fran Tarkenton hit rookie Chuck Foreman, who twisted his way to the go-ahead touchdown. Old reliable Bill Brown added the clincher, and Minnesota wrapped up an impressive team victory 24-16.
Minnesota quarterback Fran Tarkenton was coming off a great preseason in which he led the Vikings to 5 wins against no defeats. Oakland signal caller Darryl LaMonica had witnessed the defeat of his Raiders by the Vikings in the 3rd preseason game, and he found little if any yardage early against the Purple Gang. When the Oakland quarterback went to the air, the Purple People Eaters really put on pressure. LaMonica was stalked, hurried, and flushed out of the pocket by the front four consisting of Carl Eller, Bob Lertzema, Alan Page, and Jim Marshall. With the Vikings leading 3-0, Tarkenton found John Gilliam for Minnesota's first touchdown. The Raiders rallied on the legs of number 44, Marv Hubbard. 2 George Blanda field goals narrowed the score. The Raiders' specialty team gave Oakland their first lead of the afternoon. George Atkinson's 60-yard twisting punt return gave the Raiders a 13-10 halftime lead. In the 3rd quarter, Darryl LaMonica went for broke. Mike Ciani's super reception was ruled dead at the Minnesota 30, and the Raiders were threatening again. With 2nd goal at the Minnesota 1, Oakland battered 3 times against the stiff Minnesota front wall, but never penetrated. A 3rd George Blanda field goal lengthened Oakland's lead. Behind excellent protection, Tarkenton brought the Vikings back, teaming up with number 83, tight end Stu Voigt. Tarkenton capped the 6-play drive, finding first-round draft choice Chuck Foreman for the go-ahead score. Following an Oakland fumble, Tarkenton called on number 30, Bill Brown, for the Minnesota clincher. LaMonica's 4th quarter efforts wound up buried under a wave of purple shirts. Minnesota 24, Oakland 16. The Oakland Raiders move on to play the world champion Miami Dolphins this week, while the Vikings will travel to Soldier Field in Chicago to battle the Black and Blue Division Chicago Bears.
Week 2 found the Vikings in Chicago for the first of 3 consecutive Central Division battles. Against the Bears, Chuck Foreman literally burst to the front in the Rookie of the Year race, as time after time he found his way into the Chicago secondary. Chuck Foreman ran for 116 yards. Fran Tarkenton passed for the game's only touchdown. And Fred Cox kicked 5 field goals as the Vikings again came from behind to win 22-13.
On a day that was near perfect for almost any sport, the Minnesota Vikings were in Chicago looking for their second win of the young season. These knees belong to defensive captain Dick Butkus, number 51. As long as Butkus remains healthy, the Bears' defense stays solid. The Vikings found out just how solid the Bears' defense was early last Sunday. The powerful Chicago front wall buried Viking quarterback Fran Tarkenton 7 times during the afternoon. While the Bear defense shut off the Viking offense early, the Chicago offense found first quarter success. Bear quarterback Bobby Douglas relied on running back Carl Garrett to take Chicago in close. A 1-yard Douglas keeper and a Mac Percival field goal gave the Bears a 10-0 lead. Minnesota countered with a defense of their own. The Purple Gang often handled Chicago before the play could even get untracked. Meanwhile, like a swarm of bees, the Minnesota offense started stinging the powerful Bears on defense. Tarkenton started the attack in the air. Number 42, John Gilliam, stung Bears cornerback Charlie Ford for 50 yards. When the drive stalled, Fred Cox put the first of 5 field goals he would have for the afternoon, this one good from 41 yards out. With less than a minute remaining in the half, the Vikings rallied on the legs of super rookie Chuck Foreman. Finding the yardage a little harder to come by, Tarkenton slipped a spiral by the Bears to knot the score. Leading 16-10 in the fourth quarter, the Vikes called on Foreman for ball control. Number 44 rolled for 116 yards for the afternoon, confirming reports that the Vikings have a genuine breakaway threat. While the offense chipped away, the Viking defense remained brutal. Paul Krause's fumble return set up a 4th Minnesota field goal. Then Tarkenton moved the Vikings out of reach late in the fourth quarter. Ex-Packers star Carroll Dale's 40-yard reception set up Fred Cox's final field goal and his 1,000th point. The 22-13 loss put the Bears 0-2 for the season, while the Vikings remain unbeaten.
The returning heroes of the offense were welcomed home the following week. But against the defending Central champion Green Bay Packers, a different kind of game was in store. As one Packer said afterward, they just poured in on us. In a game decided by first downs instead of by touchdowns, the Vikings out-hit and out-kicked the Packers 11-3. While the heroics of Jim Del Gaizo's performance against the Lions 2 weeks ago had many Green Bay fans shouting his name, there was to be but one cry echoing across the gridiron of Metropolitan Stadium on this Sunday. Wishing to find out just who Del What's-His-Name was, the Purple Gang went in for a closer look. It wasn't long until the cry changed to, "What is a Del Gaizo?" The usually consistent Packer ground attack followed Del Gaizo's example and fell before the Purple People Eaters. Scott Hunter replaced Del Gaizo and appeared to have the Pack on the move. However, an interception by Minnesota's Bob Bryant on the next play killed the drive. For the Viking offense, it was a day of frustration as big gainers did not lead to touchdowns. Ed Marinaro's 27-yard sweep set up a second quarter field goal and brought Marinaro's Mafia to their feet. Fran Tarkenton split the seams of the Packers secondary using his other running back, the versatile rookie from Miami, Chuck Foreman. The leading Viking pass receiver and rusher rolled up well over 100 yards in total offense for the afternoon. For the second week in a row, the scoring punch was provided on 3 Fred Cox field goals. The defense added a safety for an 11-3 Minnesota win, proving a wise Viking saying. Week 4 found the Vikings in Detroit, where 2 early errors by the Lions special teams set up 2 touchdowns in the first 4.5 minutes, both on scoring passes to Ed Marinaro. The Vikings won their 4th straight, 23-9. Staying out of the Lions' jaws was goal number 1 for the Vikings, but to accomplish that, being heard above the loud Detroit crowd wasn't going to be easy. From the onset, the Lions seemed bent on giving the game away. After 3 Lions couldn't decide if they really wanted the ball, Brent McClanahan of the Vikings decided he did. It took Fran Tarkenton only 2 plays to ring up 6 with a pass to Ed Marinaro. The following series, the Lions could do no better. Al Randolph tackled Detroit punter Herman Weaver to set up Minnesota's second score on another Tarkenton to Marinaro shot. Detroit finally pulled together under the lead of quarterback Greg Landry. The best the Lions could do were 2 field goals, which Minnesota matched for a 20-6 halftime score. In the 3rd quarter, Landry went deep, resulting in controversy. Jeff Wright's interception and apparent fumble, which Larry Walton scooped up, was ruled in favor of the Vikings at the point of impact. The Vikings got another superhuman performance from Chuck Foreman. The super rookie rolled for 114 yards on only 16 carries, despite missing most of the first half with an ankle injury. Landry brought the Lions back with a brief fourth-quarter burst. Detroit's hopes finally ended as pressure from Alan Page forced Landry to fire off target. Paul Krause's interception ended the 11-play Detroit drive as the Lions gave the ball up yet another time. Fred Cox's final field goal and his 10th straight brought Detroit fans out of the stands. While these Detroit fans fell just short, the Lions and head coach Don McCafferty fell a mile in a 23-9 loss. Next, the Vikings put their undefeated streak on the line against the San Francisco 49ers, a team they had not beaten in their last 3 tries. John Gilliam again provided an early lead, but Steve Spurrier completed 31 passes, the most ever against the Vikings. And the outcome was in doubt until 2 crucial fourth-quarter interceptions by Paul Krause saved a 5th straight victory, 17-13.
Hoping to add to his career total of 59 interceptions, Paul Krause joined the Purple Gang, planning to plot some true trouble for the 49ers. San Francisco countered with a troublemaker of their own in number 11, Steve Spurrier. However, the 49ers got themselves in trouble on only the 3rd play of the game. Following Carl Eller's recovery of a Vic Washington fumble, it took Fran Tarkenton but 3 plays to convert the 49er miscue into a Minnesota lead. San Francisco came right back on the aging legs of Ken Willard, number 40. Willard's 33-yard burst set up a Bruce Gossett field goal. Following a missed 49er field goal, Chuck Foreman again showed why he's one of the top contenders for Rookie of the Year honors. Tarkenton then teamed up again with John Gilliam, giving the Vikes a 1st and goal at the 2. Foreman capped the 80-yard march with a short leap for a 14-6 halftime lead. Spurrier unleashed a fury of damaging darts in the second half, bringing the 49ers back. Despite a blinding blitz, Spurrier's pitch and prayer still found Willard, closing the score to 14-13. Behind excellent protection, Spurrier totaled 320 yards on 31 completions for the afternoon. Carl Eller's deflection and Paul Krause's interception halted a possible San Francisco go-ahead drive. In the final minutes, Spurrier again found Minnesota's Paul Krause too deceptive as the 10-year veteran took his 61st career interception. The 24-yard return set up a Fred Cox field goal, and the Vikings led 17-13. On the final play of the game, San Francisco dug deep into the old backyard playbook. When the scramble finally ended, the Vikings had won their 5th straight, 17-13 over San Francisco.
Roman Gabriel, now the leader of the surprisingly tough Philadelphia Eagles. Tarkenton had the perfect antidote for any kind of trouble. Number 42, John Gilliam. Fran Tarkenton connected on 16 of 21 passes, including 6 to John Gilliam, who totaled 160 yards and scored 2 touchdowns, as the Vikings offense hit its stride and outscored the Eagles 28-21 for a 6th consecutive win. Last week in Minnesota, everything was beautiful. The day, the girls, and above all, the Vikings' 5-0 record. And it was the 5-0 record that filled the Eagles' Roman Gabriel with tenseness before the game. Unfortunately for Philadelphia, the tenseness carried over into the game, and in the early going, they looked like the pre-Roman edition of the Eagles. On the other hand, the Vikings were uncharacteristically flamboyant in getting their first score on a 44-yard reverse by John Gilliam. And if you want to see something uncharacteristic on the replay, watch the guy leading the blocking, for it's none other than quarterback Fran Tarkenton, number 10. While razzle-dazzle is not a Viking trademark, intimidation is, and it appeared to be working extremely well in the case of Roman Gabriel. So while the Vikes kept their opponents floundering for a handhold, Fran Tarkenton kept laying it in the hands of John Gilliam. This completion set up another Gilliam touchdown, and it looked like Minnesota in a stroll. Even when Philly did get it going, they ran into trouble. Harold Carmichael garnered a rare hurdling penalty. Then on a beautiful Gabriel to Carmichael pass, the penalty flag hit even harder than the spike. You'd think the Eagles would have given up, but they don't do that anymore. Instead, they sucked it up, busted in, and sacked Fran Tarkenton Viking style. Then Genghis Khan style, number 84, Richard Harris, pillaged this play. The Eagles flew high on the wings of number 27, Poe James, and turned Minnesota's stroll into a run for their life. James continued to roll, and again Philadelphia threatened. A bruising end around by Charlie Young brought the Eagles close at the end, 28-21. And if the game had been a little bit longer, the Vikes would have been in big trouble. As it was, Coach Bud Grant must have left saying to himself, who are those guys? Then came week 7. And a battle of the Titans as the NFL's only unbeaten teams squared off against each other. The Los Angeles Rams had the league's top-rated offense, but the only touchdown of the game came on a short pass to Chuck Foreman. The rest was up to the Vikings defense, and they were magnificent. 10-9 with time running out, Jeff Seaman blitzed John Hadel out of field goal range. And with their 7th consecutive win, the Vikings had equaled their victory total of the previous season and were the only undefeated team in the league. Facing the rugged Rams, Bud Grant and the Minnesota Vikings faced their biggest obstacle of the season. And to gain win number 7 in a row, it was up to the Purple Gang to silence the thunder of John Hadel's stampeding offense. But the Rams countered with a defense of their own, momentarily halting super rookie Chuck Foreman. As the first quarter was coming to an end, Fran Tarkenton started to dent the LA secondary. Five plays later, the Ram front four rose to stop Tarkenton for a loss, short of a first down. The Vikes called on Fred Cox for the chip shot and an early lead. Following a short Minnesota punt, John Hadel went deep to Harold Jackson, but this time the dynamic duo couldn't hook up. Nate Wright's interception at the Viking 1 halted the Ram march, and it was time for the Viking offense to get into the act. With Chuck Foreman ripping medium gains in and around the Rams defense, the Vikings used the candidate for Rookie of the Year as a decoy, springing wide receiver John Gilliam loose for 17 yards on the reverse. Seven plays later, the Vikings took a 10-0 lead as Tarkenton faked, then threw to Foreman for the score. Hadel brought the Rams back, using the short passing game to move into field goal range. David Ray homed in on 3 field goals, narrowing the Viking lead to 1 late in the fourth quarter. Final flurries by both clubs wound up with the defense proving to be the master. The Vikings held Hadel, the leading NFC passer, to a mere 87 yards, dropping him twice, this one on the final play by Carl Eller. Once again, the Vikings had forced an opponent to play the game their way, and in typical Viking style had come away with a 10-9 low-scoring victory over the now once-beaten Los Angeles Rams. The always formidable Cleveland Browns were next for the Vikings, but no matter what the Browns tried, there was a Viking ready to turn the play around for Minnesota. The Viking defense held Cleveland to just 4 first downs and no touchdowns, while the offense provided 23 first downs and some of the year's most spectacular plays by Fran Tarkenton and Stu Voigt. Cleveland became Minnesota's 8th consecutive victim, 26-3. In Minnesota, the powerful Vikings met Cleveland, the AFC's #1 defensive team. On the opening kickoff, the first break of the game went to the Browns when veteran Bill Brown bobbled. Then rookie Brent McClanahan, number 33, fumbled the ball to the 19. Cleveland had a golden opportunity, but came away with only 3 points because of the Vikings' ferocious defense. Mike Phipps felt purple pressure all day as the Browns never came close to scoring again. Interceptions by 2 linebackers were the big plays of the game for Minnesota. The first was by number 58, Wally Hilgenberg, the steady 10-year veteran. The second was made by rapidly rising sophomore star Jeff Seaman, number 50. Though besieged by flu viruses, the Browns' defense played extremely tough also. At the half, it was still a ball game, 3 field goals to 1. Then on the first series of the second half, Don Cockcroft gambled on 4th and 2 and lost. This was the play that turned the tide toward Minnesota as a fine screen pass from Fran Tarkenton to Ed Marinaro set up the game's first touchdown. In the fourth quarter, the passing of Tarkenton and the receiving of tight end Stu Voigt put the game away for the Vikings. Minnesota's burial of the Browns not only preserved their exclusive unbeaten status in the NFL, but ballooned their lead in the usually competitive NFC Central to an impressive 4 games. And the Vikings rolled on to Week 9 in the rematch with the revitalized and ravenously hungry Detroit Lions. Detroit scored first, but once again, weird special team play hurt the Lions and helped the Vikings. Wally Hilgenberg's touchdown put the Vikings ahead, and then the clock rolled back to the 60s as Fran Tarkenton handed off to Dave Osborne 14 times for 79 yards, and to the old bowling ball Bill Brown 18 times for 103 yards. Fran Tarkenton enjoyed another typically efficient afternoon as he hit on 11 of 15 passes, including another touchdown to John Gilliam. The offensive line devastated the Detroit defense, opening the way to the Vikings' 9th straight victory of the season and their 12th straight over the Lions, 28-7. Not only were the Vikings the lone undefeated team in the NFL, but after just 9 weeks, they had already clinched the Central Division title for the 5th time in the past 6 years. The Minnesota Vikings are riding the highest of all in the NFL, and last week with an 8-0 record and prospects of winning their 12th straight over the Lions, no one could deny that they're #1 right now. Only the Lions took exception to the signs of the times and blew in marauder style to ransack Fran Tarkenton. The Detroit offense was equally belligerent as Bill Munson teamed with Charlie Sanders for good yardage and a jolting climax. The upset-minded Lions jumped to an early lead on a Bill Munson to Ron Jesse hookup, good for 33 yards and the touchdown. But hell hath no fury like the Vikings stung. And so they came, as all expected, crunching and clawing and dishing out Monday's welts and bruises. They took a 14-7 lead on a typical Viking scavenger hunt, a play that looks lucky, but with the Purple Gang is just a matter of course. The repeat shows that 10 Vikings charged punter Herman Weaver, and of course they got what they deserved. And then from out of the Nordic mist came a memory. Number 30, Bill Brown, on a running and receiving rampage that took the pride out of the Lions and had the fans checking to see if someone had set their watches back 5 years. Brown's 101 yards rushing and his courageous overall play gave Minnesota all the heart they needed as the Viking career rushing leader set up a 21-7 lead, which his team took when Ed Marinaro barged straight up the middle for 6. With the contest securely in hand, Fran Tarkenton unlimbered his arm and went winging to his favorite receiver, number 42, John Gilliam. And watching that ball fly, one had to wonder who is going to stop the Vikings. Certainly not the Lions, who after losing to the Purple Peril 28-7 are in no position to dispute the veracity of the signs of the times. In Minnesota, he was Bob Lee. In Atlanta, he was General Robert M. Lee, and he was looking for an end to the Vikings' unbeaten streak and for a 6th consecutive win for the Falcons. The Vikings' winning streak finally ended in Atlanta, 20-14. The following week was the last home game of the regular season. Governor Anderson officially proclaimed it Carl Koselke Day. The former Minnesota strong safety had been paralyzed from the chest down in a motorcycle crash the day before training camp opened, and now he was making his first public appearance since the accident. As John Gilliam said, "I don't think we can ever do enough to repay him for what he's done for us." In the game itself, the Vikings rolled up 31 points against the Bears, of which 12 were scored by John Gilliam, who later presented the game ball to Carl Koselke. The regular season ended with 12 wins and 2 losses, a record which tied for the best in the NFL. Once a starting defensive back for the Vikes, Carl Koselke now returns to the Met only to watch as a tragic motorcycle accident left the former Drake University star paralyzed from the waist down. But last Sunday, it was Koselke who provided the Minnesota inspiration as the Purple Gang jumped on the Bears early. Leading 10-3 at the half, Minnesota found a new spark as a fallen commander was back with them once again. Known for his aggressive determination, it was the spirit of Carl Koselke that truly started a second-half Viking victory. The Purple People Eaters dropped in to visit Bear quarterbacks 8 times for the afternoon, rolling them for 50 yards in losses and sometimes forcing them to throw where they should not. offense, Fran Tarkenton used the super abilities of John Gilliam to beat the Bears for 6. Tarkenton came back with a play-action fake, forcing one-on-one coverage by Bear cornerback Charlie Ford on Gilliam, resulting in a 44-yard gain. Two plays later, Tarkenton turned what looked to be a broken play into a touchdown for a comfortable 24-6 advantage. Tarkenton sat out the fourth quarter, but his offense never missed a beat as Bob Berry directed Minnesota goalward. Berry found Gilliam on the post for a 30-yard touchdown to complete the Vikings scoring at 31. Chicago managed a touchdown in the final minutes of play as Gary Huff used a tipped ball by Viking safety Nate Wright for their only touchdown. Number 82, Earl Thomas, made the reception for the Windy City Boys, but it was too little and too late as Minnesota vaulted to their 10th win in 11 outings with a 31-13 win over NFC Central rival, the Chicago Bears. There were many who questioned the Vikings championship medal after last week's showing, and perhaps no one was more aware than the team itself. However, the Vikings are an exceptionally strong football team, exploding with power on the defense and offense. And against the Green Bay Packers, they weren't about to suffer another letdown. The only consistent attacking power for the Packers came from number 42, John Brockington. The Bull Elephant ripped for 124 yards on 27 grueling carries, placing him over the 1,000-yard mark for the 3rd time in 3 seasons as a pro. Green Bay could score but once, as a 17-yarder from Jim Del Gazo to Barry Smith was all that the Big Purple defense would allow. The Pack found consistent trouble in the person of number 20, cornerback Bobby Bryant. The 6-year veteran who once turned down a professional baseball contract to roam the gridiron for the Vikings picked off 3 Jerry Taggy aerials, returning one 46 yards for a touchdown. Offensively for the Vikes, Fran Tarkenton waved his magical arm to produce 2 TD strikes, the first going to tight end Stu Voigt. Tarkenton came back with a 20-yard floater to super catcher John Gilliam. Minnesota received a big day from number 44, Chuck Foreman, as the Rookie of the Year candidate posted 100 yards for the afternoon. This one going for 50 yards and a score. With a 31-7 victory over Green Bay, the Vikings will be looking for win number 12 of the season this week against the New York Giants. It wasn't hard to see that it was just one of those days for the Giants as Viking bungles turned to bonuses. The only New York firepower came when it was too late to matter as Randy Johnson passed to ex-Viking Bob Grimm for 33 yards and the longest offensive play of the day. One play later, Johnson and Johnson combined as quarterback Randy hit running back Ron for the only Giant points for the afternoon. The Giants' tally mattered little as Fran Tarkenton had the Vikings in a comfortable lead during the first half, controlling the ball with the short passing game. Offensively, Minnesota chalked up a field goal and 3 short touchdowns, one by number 32, Oscar Reed. But once again, it was a great day for the Big Purple defensive unit. Bobby Bryant was credited with a blocked field goal as the Vikings kept New York in check most of the afternoon, rising to stop the Giants on 3 different occasions with 4th down in a matter of inches. Number 24, Terry Brown, personally silenced one 4th down threat, returning an interception 63 yards for a touchdown and bringing the final score to 31-7 in favor of the Minnesota Vikings. December 22nd, 1973, the opening game of the NFL playoffs. Most of the Vikings had been there before, but 2 who had not been there were Fran Tarkenton and John Gilliam. In their first crucial game in 6 weeks, the Vikings were tight at the start, and they trailed the Washington Redskins 7-3 at the half. The man who finally got things going was Oscar Reed, who accounted for 171 yards running and receiving. As Reed said after the game, since early in the season, they've been keying on Chuck Foreman. I'm not the world's greatest pass catcher or runner, but given a little room, I'll use what I've got. Twice, Billy Kilmer put the Redskins ahead, but then Carl Eller told John Gilliam to shake it off, and with one kick, he blasted a blackboard to the floor. And in the second half, the Vikings twice came from behind to take the lead. While Metropolitan Stadium quivered with joy in the twilight, Fran Tarkenton performed still another of his miracles. Within 1 minute of the 4th quarter, Tarkenton found Gilliam twice for touchdowns. The Vikings won 27-20, and it was on to Dallas to play for the championship of the National Football Conference.
What a big job that number 81 Carl Eller did on that play. Now,
Larry Brown
Good pursuit, however, by the Minnesota Vikings, and Washington will have to punt. On Taylor, the first down, and no, the ball stolen away by Seaman. And the Vikings come up with the first turnover of the game.
Playbook at halftime.
2nd and 12. For Reed near the 15-yard line. Followed very closely there by Dave Robinson.
Robinson and Fisher on the tackle. Fisher shaken up on.
Reed. And Hamburger slowed him up. Robinson fell on him. First down. 7 for the Vikings. He's got Reed wide open. The 14-yard line. Sparkington beat the 5 defensive back defense.
And he beat it working on a linebacker, number 89, Dave Robinson. Where he likes to slip backs out of the backfield.
Brundage chasing him. Gets away from one. Talbot goes and misses. Sparkington throwing. Odell incomplete. Our first score of the game. Minnesota drawing first blood. 19-yard field goal by Fred Cox has put the Vikings out in front. With 10 minutes and 16 seconds left to play in the second period. Minnesota 3, Washington nothing. Bryant is deep and West shallow. Redskins football at the 20-yard line. And again, the special teams of the Redskins, the opportunists, cash in. Yes, sir. Charlie Taylor inside the 5 at the 3. Paul Krause on the tackle. Larry Brown, touchdown.
Really the Redskins' favorite play right here in a short yardage situation. Just straight ahead power with Charlie Haraway leading Larry Brown. He gets a good block at the point. This guy right here can cut it in and veer it in the end zone.
In the second half, the Vikings came out charging on the legs of Oscar Reed, number 32. Oscar Reed had turned a 3rd and 2 situation into a 46-yard gain to the Washington 2-yard line. In a replay from the end zone, we can more fully appreciate the work of the man whose slipperiness earned him the nickname of the Sea, and who for the game totaled 171 yards rushing and receiving. From the 2, Tarkenton called on the old warhorse, number 30, Bill Brown. Brown's touchdown put the Vikings ahead 10-7, and the Minnesota fans had a chance to warm themselves with the excitement of the moment. Billy Kilmer, who earlier in the week had been hospitalized with a stomach disorder, showed no signs of disability as he brought the Redskins right back, getting the ball to Larry Brown every chance he got. Larry Brown did not have a 100-yard rushing day this year until the final week of the regular season. But last week he made it 2 in a row as he ran 29 times for 115 yards against the rugged Minnesota defense. Watch number 58, Wally Hilgenberg, set up a drive stopper. And then watch the knee of number 31, Charlie Haraway, as he feels some pressure from Bobby Bryant. Twice, when the Vikings had stopped third-quarter drives, Kurt Knight, who earlier had missed badly, was called in to kick from 42 and 52, and again Washington led 13-10. Trailing once more, Fran Tarkenton and John Gilliam took over the game. On a replay, we can see that Tarkenton faked to number 44, Chuck Foreman, and then found Gilliam floating free behind the Redskins' nickel defense. On the next play from scrimmage, Billy Kilmer tried to ignite another Redskin drive with a pass to Roy Jefferson. But lurking in the shadows was Viking cornerback Nate Wright, number 43. Suddenly, the Vikings were within striking distance again, and one play later, Fran Tarkenton pulled a page from his earlier days in Minnesota. In a replay from the end zone, we can see the kind of pressure Fran Tarkenton can apply, even to the most experienced defense in the league. For the day, John Gilliam caught only 2 passes, but both were for touchdowns within 1 minute's time. And suddenly the Vikings led 24-13. But just as suddenly, following a block punt, Billy Kilmer passed to Roy Jefferson in the end zone, and again the lead was down to 4 at 24-20. In the replay, watch Billy Kilmer's pass protection, and then notice how closely Jefferson was covered by Nate Wright, number 43. In the waning seconds, Kilmer again had the Redskins knocking on the door. But on 4th down from the Viking 42, Kilmer threw incomplete. And the Viking victory was assured, as was apparent to 2 Vikings, both of whom were right. Nate and Jeff, that is. For the fans of the Minnesota Vikings, everything was once again right with the world. For how better to keep warm through the Minnesota winter than by rooting for your favorite team and maybe following them to Texas, first to Dallas, and then perhaps to Houston for the big one, the one that got away in 1969.
Irving, Texas was not exactly friendly territory for Fran Tarkenton and the Vikings. But in his first championship game in 13 years of pro football, Tarkenton played the best game of his best season. His play selection and field generalship kept the Dallas Doomsday defense off balance throughout the game and enabled the Vikings to control the ball for almost the entire first half, which ended with Minnesota leading 10-0. In the third quarter, Mike Eischeid boomed a punt 58 yards from his own end zone. But a Dallas rookie named Golden Richards almost inspired the Cowboys to another championship. As a nation of pro football fans looked on, Fran Tarkenton showed the winner's touch. Just 3 plays after Dallas had scored, Tarkenton retreated and threw the ball just as far as he could. As he had done so often, John Gilliam scored the touchdown which broke the game open. Again, it was up to the defense, and the Purple Gang never looked better. The Cowboys tried everything in their playbook, but the Vikings just kept hammering the ball loose. Bobby Bryant's touchdown finished an almost perfect day for Minnesota. The Vikings won 27-10, not just because of Bryant and Gilliam and Tarkenton, but because 40 men had played a team sport about as well as it can be played. And that is how the Minnesota Vikings became champions of the National Football Conference.
The first half was to be one of almost total frustration on offense. Though the Cowboys were the second best running team in the NFC, the Viking defense held Calvin Hill's replacement, Robert Newhouse, number 44, and number 32, Walt Garrison, to just 28 yards rushing in the first half. With Hill missing, the Cowboys' straight-ahead power was almost non-existent. And when they tried draws and delays, they fared no better. After 2 first-period possessions went nowhere, Cowboy quarterback Roger Staubach turned to the air. But he could complete just 2 passes in the half, and when he did connect, his receivers paid. Finally, there was the task of containing Staubach himself, and Gary Larson handled that very nicely. So dominant was the Viking defense that on their 4 first-half possessions, the Cowboy offense totaled just 4 first downs and only 61 total yards. Meanwhile, the Minnesota offense ran almost twice as many plays from scrimmage and ate up most of the first half on 2 playbook-perfect ball possession drives. Tarkenton first established his ground game, sending Foreman behind running mate Oscar Reed's blocks. On the first drive, Tarkenton mixed Foreman runs with short, safe sideline passes in front of the Cowboy defensive backs. Both Gilliam and Jim Lash, number 82, another speed burner, were able to get free because the Cowboys were forced to respect their long ball capability. With Dallas becoming increasingly pass conscious, Tarkenton went back to Foreman, and he slashed further into Dallas territory. Moving almost at will, Tarkenton was a portrait of confidence, running a fake end around before hitting Oscar Reed, who carried inside the Cowboy 10-yard line. Finally, from the 7, Reed found a giant tear in the Dallas defense and thought he had finished the Viking drive. But on the play, the Vikings were detected holding, an unpardonable sin on a running play, and on a repeat, we can catch the culprit. Watch number 50, Cowboy linebacker D.D. Lewis. He is the man who was moved out to create the big hole for Reed. But notice that Ron Yeri, in blocking Lewis, grabbed onto Lewis's shirt, this bringing about the penalty and nullifying the score. The lost touchdown was costly, where it was not regained when, on a 3rd and 17, Tarkenton lost 14 more yards when sacked by Harvey Martin and Pat Toomey. What made matters worse was that Tarkenton had been trapped on the 37, bringing up a 44-yard field goal try by Fred Cox, who had not hit from longer than 41 yards this season. But this time, Cox was successful and Minnesota was first on the board, leading 3-0. On Minnesota's second long drive, Tarkenton again tried the down-and-out attack, but this time the Dallas backs were waiting. With the outside now a painful course at best, Tarkenton turned to a new attack designed to take advantage of Cowboy middle linebacker Leroy Jordan's great pursuit. Using play-action fakes and rolling out to his right, Tarkenton began to throw back across the grain into the middle of the Dallas defense. Repeating the play that was to be the key to this drive, we can see how Jordan was influenced out of his coverage area. Watch Jordan, number 55, when he sees Tarkenton roll out to one side, he rotates his coverage that way, leaving the zone open to a throwback into his area. Tarkenton continued to use the play, and it continued to work for him as Foreman was the next man to sneak into Jordan's zone. Foreman's hands betrayed him on this one, but he would more than make up for his sour hands with his sweet feet. In the first half, Foreman ran for 70 yards and exhibited why he is the leading candidate for Rookie of the Year honor. The Vikings eventually reached 4th and inches in Dallas territory. And in a highly uncharacteristic move, the usually conservative Bud Grant decided to gamble. Oscar Reed got the critical yard, and the Viking drive continued. Then, just for old time's sake, Tarkenton did his scramble routine, and Minnesota was 10 yards closer to the Dallas goal line. Finally, from the 5, Foreman swept right and outran Charlie Waters to the corner of the end zone, putting Minnesota on top 10-0. The score could have been worse. Although Dallas had had the ball only 10 minutes to the Vikings' 20 and had been outgained by over 100 yards, they were still in the game. But the Vikings had run 2 time-consuming drives. And if they continued to keep the ball away from the Cowboy offense, as they had in the first half, 10 points would be more than enough.
Yards to go. Foreman is in motion. Tarkenton throws, and that's a first down. Chuck Foreman caught the ball. There's a rookie who can do it all. From Miami, Florida. What a year he's had. 800 yards. Did well in the playoff game last week. Cornell Green was covering, made the hit, but Minnesota gets a first down. First down pass. Gilliam got it. They mark his forward progress short of a first down by about a half a yard. Mel Renfro made the hit. Goodrum in there to help with the blocking on 3rd and 1. Oscar Reed's got the first down across midfield, and Minnesota keeps the football with 9:10 remaining in the first quarter. And he might as well keep throwing it, right? Jim Lash to the sideline. Yes, it's a first down. It's a first down for Minnesota. The hit was made by Renfro, and he carried Lash out of bounds. Lash to the right and Gilliam to the left. Foreman. Boy, what a block he got from Oscar Reed. And he got 9 yards on that play. Gilliam flanks further right. First down with Oscar Reed. Bill Gregory wrapped him up. He's the one who's playing in place of Bob Lilly, and they're very pleased with the work of Gregory. Oscar Reed. Good move. He's down to the 21. He picked up 5 yards. Foreman worked for the yardage. It'll be third down coming up. And I guess these Vikings slept pretty well last night, Pat. They're not upset at all by this championship situation. 3rd and 1. Foreman following Reed. Very close. Very close. The referee here today is Norm Schechter. Lou Palazzi, the umpire. Tony Batteri, the head linesman. First down. Oscar Reed got it. First down. Yeah, he got it. Reed got the first down, a touchdown, but there's a flag holding against Minnesota. What do you think of that? Reed burst into the end zone, but that flag came down very early. And the official was very emphatic about the call. The umpire, Lou Palazzi, called it. Carroll Dales to the right, John Gilliam to the left. This is a 44-yard attempt with Krause holding the ball. Oh, yeah. 3 points for Minnesota. Minnesota breaks on top. 3:47 remaining in the first quarter. The Vikings kept the ball for almost 9 minutes and take the lead 3-0. That's hard work for 2.5 yards. Carl Eller, number 81, finally stopped him. Carroll Dale and Gilliam are the wide receivers. There he is, the tight end, Stu Voigt. First down, Minnesota. Flooring their team to get to Tarkenton. Quickie, first down to the tight end, Stu Voigt. And another classic play is pulled off by the Vikings with Cliff Harris, number 43, making the stop. Tarkenton to Foreman following Reed. Reed really chopped Cornell Green completely out of the play. Bill Gregory chased the play and caught it, but not till Foreman had rambled down to the 37-yard line.
This is quite a play because they pull the offensive guard in the opposite direction.
It kept Leroy out of there. It froze Leroy. He couldn't get over in pursuit, and Tingelhoff tied him up. That's why Foreman had the running room.
Foreman up the middle. I want to tell you, I've seen some blocking by Oscar Reed that has been unmatched in this game thus far. Foreman's timing on the play was terrific. I thought, in fact, he might have been in motion.
He got a good rolling start that time, reminiscent of Leroy Kelly and Essex Johnson. He really got to the line.
That's the way you go through stop signs when you're driving. Gilliam to the left. Foreman to the 20. It'll be 3rd down and 3. A strong tackle by Larry Cole, who grabbed him by the shirt. First and goal for Minnesota. The middle was open again. Jethro Pugh made the tackle. And I think Tarkenton wanted to hit his tight end, Voigt. Here comes Reed to the 5-yard line.
Minnesota's just playing super football.
Second and goal. Foreman. He's got it. Yep. That makes it 9-0. Who shook him loose, Wayne?
I'll tell you what, a super block over there by number 83, Stu Voigt on him.
We have 6.5 minutes remaining in the half. And here in Dallas, it's all Minnesota, and it's 10-0. Receiver. And he's in the pattern. Mr. Larson, the 10-year man from Concordia, number 77, forces Dallas to punt.
A Texas-sized three-ring circus served to brighten the mood in City Stadium after the Cowboys' offensive and defensive pratfalls during the first half. But trailing by 10-0 had only made the task more difficult, not impossible, for the proud Cowboys as they reemerged for what could be their last 30 minutes of action in the 1973 season. It was clear that they meant to turn the tables on the Minnesota Vikings, and the first step was to establish physical control of the game. So Doomsday came out hitting. And on the third play of the second half, the Cowboys almost got the needed break. But Tarkenton recovered his mistake for a loss of 1, and for the first time in the game, the Vikings were forced to give up possession without moving the football. And then the Cowboys did get the break when Mike Eischeid hit this punt for only 26 yards, shanking it out of bounds at the Viking 48-yard line. But when Roger Staubach tried to swing this pass to Robert Newhouse, Wally Hilgenberg sent blockers and ball carrier flying like so many duck pins. 2 plays later, on 3rd and 12, Staubach went deep for Drew Pearson. The Vikings' number 20, Bobby Bryant, played the man and the ball perfectly, and he intercepted the pass instinctively, when the better play would have been to bat it away and force the Cowboys to punt. Bryant's interception marooned the Vikings at their own 2-yard line. 3 thrusts into the Doomsday defense netted only 3 yards. And on 4th down, Mike Eischeid was forced to kick from deep in his own end zone. This time Eischeid boomed the football 58 yards upfield. But this punt, like Eischeid's earlier 26-yarder, worked in favor of the Cowboys because Eischeid outkicked his coverage. And key blocks by Dave Edwards, Billy Joe Dupree, and Charlie Waters loosed Golden Richards up the sideline for a 63-yard whirl-away touchdown, which narrowed the Minnesota lead to 10-7. Richards' return virtually obliterated the Vikings' first-half domination and put the fired-up Dallas Cowboys squarely in the middle of a brand-new football game. But the plucky Fred Tarkenton refused to sulk after the milk had been spilt, and as soon as he got his hands back on the football, he had the Minnesota attack in high gear. And 3 plays after Golden Richards' glittering touchdown return, Tarkenton unloosed this lightning bolt for John Gilliam, and the Vikings reestablished their 10-point lead at 17-7. A repeat will show that Gilliam simply beat double coverage deep, and that Tarkenton hit him with a perfect pass. All season long, the Vikings have found ways and means to deep six opponents in critical situations. And though the Cowboys had been able to stifle John Hadle and the diminutive Harold Jackson in the previous week's playoff game with the same double coverage, it was not enough to keep Gilliam out of the end zone from 54 yards away. But as befits a team of championship mettle, Dallas came scratching back. First, Staubach connected with Billy Joe Dupree for 20 yards. And he found Walt Garrison for a tough 10 more. Robert Newhouse then rammed up the Viking middle for 19 more yards, carrying Dallas to the Minnesota 32-yard line. And though Dallas surely missed the services of their multi-skilled 1,000-yard back Calvin Hill, a slow-motion repeat of Newhouse's run shows that they were compensating for his absence with second, third, and fourth efforts. Using Newhouse and number 23, Mike Montgomery, as talented substitutes for Calvin Hill's running and pass-catching skills, Dallas penetrated to the Minnesota 17-yard line. But with 3rd and 9, Roger Staubach scrambled and fell 2 yards short of a first down. And after a promising 10-play drive, Dallas had to settle for 3 points, making the score Minnesota 17, Dallas 10. Two plays after the ensuing kickoff, Dallas had a chance to tie the game when Charlie Waters speared the ball from Chuck Foreman's arm, but Cliff Harris fell on the loose football without trying to advance it. And Harris's conservative play backfired 1 play later when Roger Staubach's pass bounced off Billy Joe Dupree's hard hands and into the soft squeeze of the Minnesota middle linebacker number 50, Jeff Seaman. But consecutive sacks by D.D. Lewis and Harvey Martin forced Minnesota into a hole, and at the top of the 4th quarter, Tarkenton threw this interception to Cowboys number 41, Charlie Waters. And Dallas was threatening again, deep in Viking territory. In need of a big play, the Vikings turned to the blitz, and though Staubach had called a screen left, a leaping Jim Marshall would not let him release the football. And Wally Hilgenberg once again came through with the big play for Minnesota. And then the front 4 Norsemen came on. Number 70, Jim Marshall, got to Staubach before he could raise the ball, causing this fumble recovered by number 77, Gary Larson. But incredibly, no sooner had the Vikings reclaimed the football than they turned it over again on this handoff. And Larry Cole took possession for Dallas. And on the very next play, Roger Staubach stepped back and threw a touchdown pass to number 20, Bobby Bryant, the Viking right cornerback. Almost inconceivably, these two well-seasoned teams had turned the ball over in 6 consecutive series of downs, but not until Bryant's interception had one team profited and the other team lost. A replay shows that Bryant followed Hayes in motion and that Staubach never looked Bryant off his intended receiver. Timing his move perfectly, Bryant took the ball out of Hayes' hands, and the Vikings' lead was boosted to 24-10. And on the very first play after the kickoff, Staubach made it 7 turnovers in 7 series, when Jeff Wright, number 23, took this deflection to set up a Viking field goal, making the score 27-10. And when Dallas could not move the football after the kickoff, this preposterous string of turnovers turned to 8 in a row when Bobby Bryant muffed this fair catch attempt and Bill Gregory recovered, giving Dallas one last hope for life. Staubach immediately stepped back and found Drew Pearson, who made a leaping catch at the Minnesota 15. And when the Vikings number 43, Nate Wright, was detected draped all over the Cowboys' Bob Hayes, interference was called. And the Cowboys had a first down at the Minnesota 3-yard line. But then, defying all odds and every law of probability, the Cowboys fumbled for an impossible 9 giveaways in 9 consecutive series of downs. Gary Larson recovered while Garrison's fumbled at the Vikings 2, and from there, with under 5 minutes remaining, the Vikings never relinquished the elusive hog bladder. After a long and hard-won way to the playoffs from July to nearly January, a seemingly interminable 5 minutes at the end of it all left its frustration written across the bowed postures of the beaten Cowboys. The Minnesota Vikings ended the day as they had begun it, controlling the football, playing the game with abandon for love and money, just the way a team should, that has earned the right to all the glory or the grief on the afternoon of champions in 2 weeks' time.
Pittman is back to punt inside his 15. He kicks it away. It's high in the air, and Bryant calls for the fair catch. Fumble! Minnesota. No. Dallas.
That was a funny-looking punt by Bateman, sort of a knuckleball that Bryant never did find the handle on. Vikings were around it right here, but just couldn't come up with it. This ball's still loose now.
It bounced up to Gregory, as it turned out. Pearson's got it. The 15 now, and the ball squirted away. He got it back. Jeff Wright almost grabbed it as it squirted away from Pearson.
You know they've got to be a little bit conscious about getting hit when they catch the ball, because they've taken some awful shots. Pearson here again gets hit hard.
Well, that's really great concentration right there. He didn't come off that ball for a second, and he knew that he was in a crowd.
17. And the flag, it'll be first and goal. Called against Nate Wright. Garrison is at the goal line. Fumble. And Minnesota gets the ball.
Gary Larson, I think, came up with it. I'll tell you, what a job this defense has done.
Reed again. And he gets a couple of yards. Jethro Pugh wrapped him up along with D.D. Lewis. Now we're coming up on the 6-minute mark, and Minnesota maintains their 17-point advantage. 5.5 minutes left. And I'll be darned, they get a first down with Oscar Reed. And the Vikings will keep the ball a while longer. Cliff Harris made the tackle. Reed started up the middle, as you saw, then ducked outside very quickly.
And that's another mark of a fine football team, is Oscar Reed either is tired or got the wind knocked out of him.
And Bill Brown crosses the 25, bringing about a third down play. Fumbles and interceptions. 3rd and 2 here. And another first down. Foreman got it this time, crossing the 30-yard line, and we come up on the 3-minute mark. One more play, then the 2-minute mark will stop the clock. Running with it is Foreman. Dallas trying to tackle the ball. Foreman gets 5 yards. 2:06 remaining in the game. 2nd and 6 for Minnesota, and Foreman has to go very deep, trying to turn the corner. And Cliff Harris came up and met him and bumped him out, and now we have 2:01 remaining on the clock. 3rd down and 1. And another first down. The Vikings will keep the ball. Big game. 2nd down and 7. Osborne blows through for another first down. 1:10 remaining. Tackler Cliff Harris. Through the air. It's 1st and 10 from the Dallas 45. There goes Osborne. Pat, we see this happen frequently at this stage of the game when the defense tries to tackle the football. And it's all over. And 27-10 is the final score. Fran Tarkenton took his team to the division title, then led the Vikings to the win over the Washington Redskins by 7 points last week. And another superb afternoon for the 13-year veteran from Georgia of the winners.
And as you can imagine, Jack Buck, we have a very excited winners dressing room. This is Bobby Bryant, who today intercepted 2 of the passes thrown by Roger Staubach on my left. On my right, Jim Marshall. The defense of the Vikings absolutely overpowering again. And Bobby, tell me about that one interception. You really turned the game around. 68-yard return for a touchdown.
Well, I didn't realize it was 68 yards, but we went on zone coverage, and Bob Hayes just ran a breakout pattern, and I read his pattern. I was still about 5 or 10 yards off, and I looked at Staubach, and he was looking out, and he threw the ball, and I was able to get up and get it, and just clear sailing after that.
And you also set one up for Jeff Seaman besides the 2 that you intercepted.
Yes, that was kind of a lucky play, really. I hit the tight end. Staubach had thrown a pass to him, and the ball just deflected up. I didn't really see what happened. I'll have to see it in the movies, but Jeff did catch it, and it was a big interception for Jeff.
All right, Bobby, congratulations. And Jim, of course, when the Cowboys had a chance to get back in there and tie the game, you came around and were able to jar the ball loose. Perhaps you could describe that play for us.
Well, it was a pass play. I kind of felt at the time that they were definitely going to have to pass, so I took a gamble with a real hard outside rush, and fortunate enough to get around the offensive tackle and looked up, and there was the quarterback.
And of course,
job easy after that.
The man who recovered it right here, Gary, come on up here on this platform with us too. Not only did you recover that fumble after Jim spared it loose, but you also got the one down there by the goal line. So that's 2 fumbles for you in the second half, big guy.
Well, you have to give credit to the guy that hit him. I know Jim hit it, and the ball bounced right at my hands, and I'm not sure who hit the second one down the goal line, but I heard a heck of a collision, and I looked up, and the ball bounced right in my hands again. I mean, there's not much credit you can take for recovering them when they come right to you like that.
You know, Bobby, coming into the game, the most celebrated Cowboy of all was Drew Pearson, and you were all over him a couple of times today, too.
Well, they did try to throw to him a couple of times, and I was fortunate to be in the right place.
Tell us a little bit about this Viking team. Last week against Washington, you had a bad first half, and they tell us that Carl Eller had to come in and pick you guys up at halftime. You didn't need any of that incentive today, did you, Jim?
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We knew exactly what we had to do today. We had to play the defensive line had to play an extremely aggressive defensive game, and we knew that we were going to have to play on their side of the line of scrimmage. They run a lot of play passes and things of that sort, and the best way to defense against them is by a very aggressive defense, and we were aggressive today.
Gary, any choice of who you'd prefer to play in the Super Bowl, Oakland or Miami?
Well, they asked me the same question last week, and I'll give you the same answer. I know one team that's going to be there. It's going to be the Minnesota Vikings. I don't care who shows up to take us on.
All right, and they also had some offensive stars, Fran Tarkenton and John Gilliam, and we'll be back with them at the winners' dressing room at the NFC Championships in just a moment. With the score 10-7, these 2 gentlemen turned it around again for the Minnesota Vikings. Fran Tarkenton on my right with a 54-yard touchdown pass to John Gilliam. Beautiful pattern and a beautiful throw, John.
Thank you, Fran. I think you have to give Fran some credit because he threw a great ball, and we called Cornell Green was taking away off a crossing pattern. So Fran saw it, and he told me to just beat him on the backside, and I just ran a good pattern.
You know, Pat Summerall and Wayne Walker were making the observations today that you were throwing on first down. You certainly weren't as scared of Mel Renfro as some teams had been in the past. You did some things that I don't think the Cowboys expected, Fran.
Well, our whole philosophy in these playoff games is not to try to keep from losing them, but to try to go out and win them. And that's what we've done these last 2 weeks, and we'll try to do in the big one in Houston. And that man right there has been the big man for our offense all year. John has had a super year, and I've never seen a better receiver than he is. I've never played with one, and he made his big play again today for us.
Twice in the first half, 4th and 1. Not scared to gamble, were you, Fran?
Well, that's Bud Grant's decision, and Bud Grant makes right decisions all the time. And if he'd have made the decision not to go, that'd have been fine too. But he thought we should, and we did, and we made it.
Francis, congratulations along with John Gilliam. And now, let's back here in the locker room of the Minnesota Vikings. Oscar Reed, the running back on my left, and on my right, linebacker Wally Hilgenberg. And Oscar, they said you could not run against the Dallas Cowboys, but you folks went out there and really sustained an offense.
Well, we've been stressing the run for the last week or so in Dallas because we know that other teams has had a problem running on them, and we felt that if we could run on them, we could beat them.
Wally, early in the second half, Jack Buck made the observation that first offensive play was going to be terribly important for the Cowboys. They came with a screen pass, something they had not shown you in the first half. You read it perfectly.
Well, we had the right defense called, Brent. It was my force coming up on it, and I just happened to see the back sneaking out there and got up quick and got a good hit on it. And when you got the right defense called against the right play, you usually can come out okay.
You know, the Vikings don't blitz very often, but when they do, it can really be important. I remember back with the Los Angeles Rams when Jeff Seaman came and got John Hadle. Today, you went and got Roger Staubach.
Well, again, we had the right call at the right time, and we feel that the blitz is a better weapon if used as an element of surprise and do it less often. And so we don't try to live on it, but we use it as a weapon once in a while.
Wally, let's bring the head coach up here, Bud Grant, who designed this game plan, got this team together. Coach, congratulations on another tremendous effort. I know that yesterday you had predicted that this might wind up being a high-scoring game, and you said, I'm not so sure I'm going to be right about that.
Well, I certainly didn't predict all the turnovers in the ball game, but those things happen, and we were able to take a little more advantage of them than they were.
Was it any easier to defense them since they did not have Calvin Hill?
I don't think our defenses were predicated on that at all. We've had a great deal of respect for Newhouse. I can't say enough good things about Calvin Hill, and I'm sure that they missed him more than we might imagine, but we couldn't set our defenses for anybody. If he was in there, we'd have played exactly the same way, and I'm sure he would have had a great day.
Now, of course, you're going back to the Super Bowl. You remember the last time you were there, upset by the Kansas City Chiefs. I imagine you're looking forward
to getting even. Well, I don't know if it was an upset. They played a great football game, and they deserved to win that day, but we've been looking forward to another trip ever since that time. This is basically the same team, and we're happy to be back, and we'll be ready.
Any choice, Miami or Oakland?
It makes no difference at all. You've got to beat the best, and we'll find out who that is a couple weeks from now.
Coach Bud Grant, congratulations not only on today's victory, but for the entire season and career you've had with the Minnesota Vikings. Like the Dallas Cowboys, the Minnesota Vikings are one of the class operations in professional football.
On January 13, 1974, in Houston's Rice Stadium, it was the destiny of the NFC champion Minnesota Vikings to meet one of pro football's greatest teams ever on one of its greatest days. Super Bowl VIII was a day of ultimate triumph for the Miami Dolphins and a day of aching frustration for the Minnesota Vikings. But even in defeat, there remain the warm memories of a spectacular season, a season of 19 victories and just 3 defeats. Most of all, a season in which the Minnesota Vikings proved that they were winners.
Now at 21-0-1.